Councilmember Roberts.
Thank you, Ron. Notwithstanding that, I still congratulate you for being inducted, and I too wore a purple tie. I cannot join you tonight, and I'm sorry that schedule won't permit it, but I'm excited for you. I do have a comment, and it has to do with a number of constituents who contacted me. Actually, I think I had my phone number pasted onto the bus stop on 38th for Sound Transit, so I do wear that board hat. That stop is about to be closed as a part of a number of service changes that Sound Transit periodically makes. In this particular case, this is the 38th and, on 38th Street and Broadway, and that two Sound Transit buses, one to Bellevue and one to Seattle, move from there. The reason that that is closed is that a number of businesses, quite a number of businesses actually, that are located right in that area, raised concerns both with the city and with Sound Transit, first with the city, I think, and then with Sound Transit, about the parking that was being taken up for their customers and their employees, that was being taken up by folks who were essentially commuting to both Bellevue and Seattle. And as those concerns were raised, they were looked at first, I believe, by the city. And I can't speak for all the things the city did, but I understand that they were looked at. And then they raised those issues with Sound Transit. I do know, in the discussions I've had with Sound Transit staff, that Sound Transit did its own independent review, went out and looked at the parking, went out and looked at the capacity that exists at Everett Station, and there is ample capacity there to handle that parking. The Sound Transit posted and asked people not to park in these business areas or they would be towed or and so on. Unfortunately, those requests were largely ignored, and there was not a change. Finally, the city said, we really would like to have that stop closed because there is adequate parking for commuters at the station on both the west side and east side lots of the track, splitting the track. That has happened. A lot of folks have contacted me, and I've tried to get back to each and every one of them. I haven't been able to reach all of them. And there's a couple of those commuters, and I particularly am sensitive to a couple of them who are walking there. They're not driving. And they are somewhat inconvenienced. And I have talked to them and also about staff to see if there aren't some Sound Transit staff to see if there aren't some things that we can look at in terms of the configuration of the 510 and 532, I think it is. In any event, and I appreciate, Mayor, that you've written a letter in response. You too have been receiving some of these concerns and have written a letter explaining that this was a request was made by the city to shut down the stop. Sound Transit has looked at that. There is adequate parking at the station. One of the concerns I've heard from constituents is a security issue with the parking in those lots. We've had staff, Sound Transit staff there the last several days this week, I think almost every day this week, looking at the configurations and the arrangements and the security, and they may have some suggestions coming back as to how we might be able to improve security, particularly as we get shorter days, which means people are leaving and coming back in darkness. So I just wanted to be really clear. We have taken very seriously these questions. I appreciate that the city has said, look, this is a request from the city. I support the action that we've taken. So I'm sorry to take so long here, but this has been something that I know I've received at least a dozen either phone calls or emails on this issue, and I wanted to let the public know. We looked very carefully and long at this, I think starting in May of this year.
And just a comment, I'm sorry, Mayor.
I want to thank Sound Transit for being responsive. You know, it's often when we have issues like this, and it's a situation where all parties, you can't make everyone happy. You just have to look at what's the greater good here, and the greater good, I believe, is being served by the City of Everett's request to eliminate that Sound Transit bus stop. And thank you for being supportive, and thank your fellow board members and staff at Sound Transit.
And as it relates to the security issue, I have put in a request to our police department because I want to put some statistics around whether or not we truly were having some security issues, whether or not we were having to have some police response. I'm probably going to expect to get some of that information next week.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm sorry to take so
No
much
worries.
time, but it was
That's
important.
not a worry.
That's all I have.
That's all? Sorry.